Israel is dealing with enemies both inside and outside the country, facing a possible war with Hezbollah in Lebanon, while also taking out terrorists in Gaza. Julie Stahl brings us that story from Jerusalem.
Israel says it targeted and killed a number of significant Hamas terrorists who were operating from a command and control center embedded in a humanitarian area in Khan Younis. According to the IDF, the terrorists had carried out attacks against IDF troops from the control center and were directly involved in the execution of the October 7th massacre. The Gaza Health Ministry says at least 19 people were killed in the strike on the tent encampment, but Israel says it took numerous steps to limit the risk of harming civilians. Attorney Yifas Sigal from the Israel Defense and Security Forum tells CBN News the terrorists have one aim.
You have a death cult of jihadist terrorists who literally wake up in the morning every day and try to figure out a way to bypass your defense mechanisms and to find a way to finally destroy you and kill and rape and destroy the state of Israel and all its people. We've been saying it for years, but we sounded crazy. But we saw it on October 7th.
Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant reiterated Israel's goals of destroying Hamas and bringing the hostages home and the possibility of war with Hezbollah in the north.
We're looking at all the fronts, and this means that while you're fighting here in Gaza, we're preparing for everything that could happen in the north.
Hezbollah continues to attack northern Israel daily from Lebanon, launching 30 missiles on Sunday alone. Netanyahu is promising to end that threat, and his war cabinet met this weekend to discuss a possible ground invasion into Lebanon. And former War Cabinet member Benny Gantz says without a hostage deal, Israel should go to war with Hezbollah. While some 60,000 Israelis are displaced from their border homes, another 200,000 are within striking range of Hezbollah. Sarit Zahavi of the Alma Center says Israel is already in a war with Hezbollah since October 8th, but says Israel needs to hit Hezbollah harder in Lebanon.
Same war of attrition in the past 11 months. The only difference is that we see more shooting to areas that are not evacuated, like where I live. There was a hit of a drone in a building of 13 floors.
The drone struck in the middle of the day, damaging the building but causing no injuries. Meanwhile, Turkey's president accuses Israel of wanting to take over the Middle East and is calling for a coalition of all Islamic states.
They are already declaring that they will not be satisfied with occupying Gaza alone. That is why we say that Hamas is resisting on behalf of all Muslims. This is why we say that Hamas is defending not only Gaza, but also the lands of Islam and Turkey.
But Zahavi says the world needs to understand who is really behind the war and what it's about.
I want to see everybody understand that it is not about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. It's not about a two-state solution. It's not about Gaza or Palestinians. There is a campaign that was launched by Iran, the Islamic Republic of Iran, against the Western representative in the Middle East, which is the State of Israel.
Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
That head of the terror octopus in Tehran, the regime in Iran, Gordon, continuing to spawn trouble in the region.
Yes, they are the architect of all of this, and they are the principal funder of Hezbollah and Hamas. It looks like they all get their orders directly from Tehran. And when you read that Sinwar wants to evacuate, and the only place he thinks will be safe for him is to go to Iran, that tells you who's really in charge. But let's take a moment and look at what Erdogan said. He's the president of Turkey, and that's not some idle comment coming out of him. My first reaction to him saying Israel wants to take over the whole Middle East was laughter, because that's exactly what he wants to do. He wants to reestablish Ottoman rule. That's his goal as the president of Turkey. And before World War I, that's exactly who ruled the Middle East, what they call the Levant. So whether it's Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, Israel, all of those were under control of the Ottomans. That's what his goal is. And so when he's calling for a unification of all these countries, he's saying unify under my leadership and I'll bring it back to where it was 120 years ago. So that's his goal. And when you read the Bible, coming out of the north is a coalition of nations, and their goal is to attack Israel. Let's take the Bible seriously. Let's take what Iranians are currently, their leadership is currently saying, all the messages out of Tehran, all the messages out of Hamas, all the messages out of Hezbollah. They have one common theme. Let's wipe Israel off the map. Let's kill every single Jew living in Israel. Here in America, we need to stand up to that and say, no, Israel has a right to exist. This is established international law going back to the British mandate following World War I, where the Ottoman Empire was defeated. And all of these nations, Syria, Lebanon, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, were all created. And with that creation was the creation of the British mandate for Palestine that later became Israel. Let's honor that. Let's stand with that, because that is the right thing to do.